Our guest today is Mori Ryohei, who has a PhD in molecular engineering and runs a chemical startup. Mori has developed a novel 100% natural biomass-based biodegradable plastic made without any petroleum-based materials. In 2020, his startup was recognized by the UN for its contributions toward achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, giving it access to investors and other resources. Currently, forks, knives, and other utensils made using the plastic Mori developed are being sold in over 20 countries and regions. How is Mori able to make the innovative plastic? He shares his passion for his research and his vision for the future.
Recently, the experts talk a lot about SDGs and whatnot, but they don't say much in terms of specifics. To achieve those goals, you need technology.
Mori's company is based in the city of Kawanishi in Hyogo. Mori himself is actively involved in day-to-day research activities and manufacturing.
What we have here is plastic made from materials such as wood and plants. Even if it ends up on the ground or in a river or the sea, it will biodegrade into water and carbon dioxide, so it's considered eco-friendly.
The company employs just 10 people, but its non-petroleum plastic has garnered it widespread recognition.
Ordinary plastic is made from petroleum. It's made using petroleum and fossil fuels, so it increases the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. CO2 is a greenhouse gas, so ordinary plastic is bad for our planet. The other thing is that it turns into trash. If it gets in the ocean, it's eaten by marine animals, which are then eaten by humans. Petroleum-based plastics don't break down for centuries, millennia, tens of thousands of years. If things continue, by around 2040 or 2050, there will be more plastic in the oceans than fish.
Mori is developing what is called bioplastic, which is derived from organic material or biomass. This bioplastic can be broken down by microorganisms found in nature. He is using this technology to make a range of products.
Bioplastic is a word you hear often these days. It's made from plants and food sources, so when it's burned or consumed, it doesn't increase the net amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. When it becomes trash, it can biodegrade in the soil or the ocean in as quickly as a few months. It turns into CO2 and water and barely leaves a trace. In other words, it's a very eco-friendly plastic. We use it to make tableware, toothbrushes, and so on. Most of the inquiries we get from overseas are about our nail tips. 100% biomass-based nail polish is also under development. We hope to make 100% biomass-based versions of all petroleum-based synthetic products, things like detergent, adhesives, even ink. Instead of petroleum, we use organic materials.
Mori's startup is a subsidiary of an ink manufacturing company that was founded by his grandfather in 1938. Mori himself also serves as CEO of that parent company. He says that in his youth, he could have never imagined he would take over the family business.
It's a company that my granddad founded over 80 years ago. I was born into this family, but it wasn't a very comfortable environment for me growing up. A lot of the workers were rough-spoken types, and as the son of the then CEO, I was in an awkward position, so I had no intention to take over. When I was in high school, I went to the US, and later, I made lots of close friendships with people from other countries. Back when I was young, I had a very strong desire to just live my life the way I wanted to.
After returning from his studies in the US, Mori took an interest in the environmental field and began researching solar cells at a Japanese university. But after graduation, he decided to take a job at the family ink factory.
My older brother got a job elsewhere and made it clear he didn't intend to take over. So they started talking about selling the business. That's when I realized it was serious. I could see my father getting down, and so I said, "Okay, all right, I'll give it a go." So I joined the company. And it was rough. You can imagine what it was like for some of the more capable employees who might have become CEO of this small company if it weren't for the sun waltzing up. So there was pressure on me to succeed, and they had it in for me from the start. They were vocal about their grievances, but they weren't bringing any new ideas to the table. Eventually, it got to me, and I thought, forget this. I told my father I quit. No way was I doing this for the rest of my life. He looked at me all exasperated, like I was a traitor.
After his sudden departure from the ink factory, Mori took a job in Finland, helping to engineer smartphones, which were just starting to take off. While in Finland, he got married and started settling into his new life.
I worked at a Finnish manufacturer as an engineer, helping create sensors for touchscreens. About an hour north of Helsinki is this small town called Oulu. That's where the research lab was. It gets really cold over there. I was there for several months. Engineering work takes time to learn, but I hadn't been there for long. So the level of difficulty was high, and the work itself was really exhausting. Meanwhile, my wife and I had run into a rough patch, so I was wondering what to do. And you know, I would call home, and around that time, my father had kind of fallen ill. He asked me to come home and told me I should join the family business and do whatever I wanted with it. He said, if the workers have a problem, give them a piece of your mind. Just take over, and you can do whatever you want. You should come home. So after all that, I went back.
Mori rejoined the family business in 2009, but the reception was frosty.
Needless to say, they let me know how they felt about my return. I told myself it didn't matter what others thought. If this is what was going to satisfy my dad, then so be it. So I resolved to take over the company, and I considered our long-term prospects. I could see that the long-term growth potential for the ink business was fairly limited. So then, I thought, what about environmental science? What about energy? I had a sense the world was going to shift away from carbon. The growth potential was high. Growing up, the family factory was always an unrefined place. The floors were dirty. There was a distinct odor hanging around. I remember there used to be a chimney, and there was smoke billowing from this chimney pretty much nonstop. I knew at that young age that the environment would be an important issue.
In 2013, Mori founded his startup as a subsidiary of the family ink business. As the company's only employee, he got to work developing bioplastics.
Bioplastics have actually been around for a while. Of those, some were partially made using petroleum, while others were made using food sources. The challenge lies in the shaping and molding process. Even today, the thinking is that bioplastics are too expensive to make and structurally weak. Forget the environment, we don't want it. That's the attitude. Petroleum-based plastics are stronger and, at the end of the day, cheaper to mass produce. When I first started, I went around buying the petroleum-based plastics and bioplastics being made by other companies. At the lab, I mixed the plastic with cellulose nanofibers.
Cellulose nanofiber is a sticky substance derived from plant fibers. Mori mixed cellulose nanofiber with petroleum-based plastic and succeeded in reducing the petroleum content of the finished plastic by 40%. The success spurred him on to the next challenge.
Immediately, I started thinking about making a 100% natural biomass-based plastic. This time, I wanted not only to use cellulose nanofibers, but to make it 100% bioplastic. That was the goal, and I was determined to make this from scratch. So I took eco-friendly polylactic acid and cellulose nanofibers and mixed them together.
Polylactic acid is a substance made from plant starch. Mori began his attempts to develop a non-petroleum, 100% biomass plastic made from polylactic acid and cellulose nanofibers.
The challenge was mixing these two substances together. That was the first major hurdle. And then our prospective clients had tall demands. They'd say it wasn't strong enough, or even if it was too expensive. So it was taking a while to achieve results. And I was doing all the work by myself. The pressure was really getting to me.
One day, a salesperson from a business client reached out to the struggling Mori and connected him with someone who could help.
He said to me, "I know you're frustrated, but I have a feeling this person can help. I'll introduce you." He took me to a research institution. And the person he connected me to really cast some light on a certain chemical reaction. And those insights led to a process that eventually enabled the low-cost production of this novel plastic. It was around then we started to become one of the top runners in this field. Since then, the wheels have finally started spinning. I'm thankful for the help of others. In the past, I tried to do everything myself. I had the stamina, so I'd push myself. But delegating tasks to others speeds things up, and right now, things are going more smoothly than they were when I was alone. At long last, I'm starting to think like an executive.
In 2018, Mori established a manufacturing process for producing non-petroleum bioplastic. In addition to plastics, his company is also working on developing new technology. Lithium-sulfur batteries, with up to 5 times the capacity of conventional lithium-ion batteries.
When it comes to developing a smart society, power generation isn't a huge issue. We can use solar cells, fuel cells, hydroelectric power. The biggest issue is storage. We need a way to store huge amounts of power. We could just set up batteries everywhere. But the batteries we have today are weak and expensive. The lithium-sulfur batteries we're developing are more powerful. For example, if you charge your mobile phone using the outlet, the battery charge may last 3 days or so. But we could potentially increase that to a week. Or with electric vehicles, we can increase the distance per charge from 400 or 500 kilometers to 1,000. That's the potential. We're a small company. Even when you include our parent company, we have just over 100 employees. But we're a company that's on the cutting edge. So we will continue to develop specific technologies for practical use, which will bring more eco-friendly products to the world. That's an important goal of ours. Don't give up. Developing materials is something that takes a very long time. But in other business areas too, things take a lot of time, though it may vary by field. Sometimes it takes so long that you get frustrated and overwhelmed, but you hang in there and keep going. Ultimately, that's what's important.